Good afternoon, everybody. This is Adrienne Montgomery over at ERP VAR. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us today. I'm so pleased to be joined by three companies, Jazz Systems, V Technologies, and American Payment Solutions. We're going to get started here in just a minute or so. We're going to be talking about Acumatica and automating order fulfillment and getting paid in 3 simple steps. But before we get started, if you look on your webinar pane, there's a question mark button and a hand button. If you should have any questions throughout the presentation, we just ask that you click on that question mark button and a dialog box will open up where you can go ahead and key in your question. And we'll be reserving the announcing of those questions until the end of the webinar. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm joined today by Jazz Systems, Marilee Schlimmer, Director of Marketing, and Jazz Systems, John Schlimmer, COO, and Matt St. John over at V Technologies. He's Channel Sales Executive, and Patty Benitez, Senior Vice President of Channel at American Payment Solutions. And just a little bit about the companies before we get started into the presentation. The umbrella ERP we're talking about today is Acumatica ERP. And they're an adaptable cloud and mobile technology solution. They have an all-inclusive user licensing model, enabling a complete real-time view of your business anywhere, anytime. They offer their solution through a network of partners. They have a full suite of integrated business management applications, including financials, distribution, manufacturing, project accounting, and CRM. And they're the only one true cloud ERP platform designed for mid-sized customers. And Jazz Systems are the proud makers of the American Acumatica Manufacturing Edition, powered by Jazz. They specialize in software solutions for manufacturing companies. It seamlessly integrates with Acumatica Cloud ERP, the multi-site manufacturing and control system that integrates with your production planning and shop floor, customer management, sales orders, inventory, purchasing, accounting, and financial reporting. And we're also joined by American Payment Solutions. Patty's going to be talking about their full suite of merchant services solutions and Acumatica. They serve thousands of small, medium, and large organizations. Patty's going to talk about level 3 processing and how to get the best credit card processing rate. When you integrate their solution with Acumatica, they can take all the data related to the customer and provide that to the credit card processing companies and get the lowest rate. So she's going to demonstrate that. And then Starship is connecting shipping with order entry in Acumatica, customer service, and accounts receivable. They've been doing this since 1989. They are a UPS Ready Partner, Gold FedEx compatible solution provider, and they support a wide range of carriers, small parcel, regional, and LTL. They launched their Acumatica interface in 2016. And they also are market share leaders for ERP integrations such as Sage and Microsoft Dynamics. And just a little bit about the workflow. We're going to be talking about how an order comes into Acumatica and the Acumatica Manufacturing Edition powered by Jazz, and how Jazz will take that order on the job floor, build the item, and then send that back into Acumatica, where Starship can take all the details of the order and select the best carrier based on the dimensional weight, where the customer is located, and then send that back into Acumatica, where American Payment Solutions will get you the best credit card processing rate if that's how the customer chooses to pay for the order. So the payment will be received. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to John so he can start talking about Jazz and the Acumatica Manufacturing Edition. Thank you, John.
All right, thanks, Adrienne. So I'm assuming you can see my screen now, okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Good afternoon, everybody. As Adrienne said, my name's John Schlimmer. I'm going to talk today about the Acumatica Manufacturing Edition, which totally integrates, as Adrian also said, within Acumatica's distribution financial systems. So I'm going to kind of step you through when things come in from an ordering standpoint, then taking that into production, going ahead and making sure that you have the raw materials in order to build it, and then we'll go ahead and produce it, and then it would be ready for shipment, which then the Starship people would take over. So there's a couple things. The Acumatica Manufacturing Edition is primarily for discrete manufacturing and batch processing manufacturing. So there's 5 different modules currently. There's a bill of material module, production orders, which is where all the costing and the scheduling and the production side is done. There's an MRP module where you can do material requirements planning to make sure that you have the appropriate raw materials or manufactured subassemblies. There is a estimating module, so if it's something that people actually go out and do job shops and they need to go out and estimate it, get the customer's commitment. The customer says, yes, we have a deal. Now I can create a sales order directly from that estimate. And then there's also a product configurator where if people have features and options predefined to where it just goes down through its rules-based, its dimensional capability, and I'll kind of show a little bit of that as well as we go through the whole process. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the sales order screen, and I'm going to select my sales order because the customer has just now purchased. And so this is my my favorite customer. It's the ABC Bartenders, and they have purchased 3 different items. Now within here, these are all manufactured items. And one of the things that you can do is you can either create a production order directly from here. So this would be more in the make to order or the configure to order type markets. Or if it's something that I'm making to stock or I want MRP to plan it, I can actually just come in and say I want MRP to plan this one. I do not create that production order. Creating a production order is a very simple task. You can come in, you can basically just say, I want to create this production order, check the box, hit create, and it'll create that next production order for you. Also, anytime that you see the hyperlink, you can actually come directly into this. So this is the production order that I had just created. You'll notice that on the references side, this is tied directly back to that particular sales order and that particular line item. And we'll utilize this one in the transaction set. The second item I'm going to let MRP plan. So when I go through and I actually run MRP, it's going to go out and it's going to look at all the demand. That's either coming from actual sales orders or forecasts. It's going to take into account safety stock, reorder point, lead time in both purchased manufactured items, min-max lot size in both purchased manufactured items. It's going to then look at all the supply already out there from existing purchase orders, actual production orders already out there or master production schedules, and it'll run through the regeneration process and come back and basically say, these are the items you need to take action on and when you need to do it based on the lead times. So as an example, down below I have 63 on hand, but I only have 61 that are available. So, and if I needed these 100 to satisfy this order, then on this particular one, if it was the only thing that I had in the system, I'd need to go make 39 of these. Now the third option here is the configured items. So once I select this particular item, this configure button will activate. So now I can actually come in and look at the configuration. So when I come in and I actually bring this in to look at the configuration, then I can pick and choose which options I need to. I can make some of these required from an attribute standpoint, and then from any of the options, I can actually come in and select the option. It runs through its rules and gives me a green check mark. You'll notice that my price actually increased because I'm actually increasing my price based on building my price based on the selection. So if I go to my second option, just as an example, I'll pick the first one. Now this price is going to be $83.30. And then when I go to my final selection process, this is what the price is going to be. So then I can save that and create a purchase order directly from this. Let me get some of this stuff out of here because I can't close my window. There we go. And now I can actually go ahead and process this production order. So now the next thing that you would do is actually go out and run MRP. As I mentioned, it's going to look at all the demand. It's going to look at all the supply coming in, safety stock, reorder points, and it's going to run through its engine and come back and tell you these are the things you need to buy, what the date you need to purchase them on, because this is when you need them, purchase or manufacture. This is when you need to have them completed. You can actually come in and make a change of vendor if you have security to do so. And then, as I mentioned, there's things like safety stock, production material, where the demand is coming from, sales orders, or mass production schedules that I have. Now, the bill of material is where the production order utilized the bill of material when it was created to copy that. So within the bill of material side, you can have multiple different work calendars. You can have multiple work centers, overheads, tools. There's a lot of costing flexibility to this. There's also a mass change function, a where used function. But if I actually go into the bill of material itself, this is broken down into basically 3 different sections. We do revision control based on effectivity date currently. And within here, the next section is the operations. So in this particular case, I have 3 different operations that I can fine tune with setup time, run time, in a time fence. So I can make 10 of these in 30 minutes, or I can make 60 of these in an hour. You can also have machine time, queue time, and then you can either back flush labor, which is going to utilize a standard cost rate off of the work center, or you can actually apply direct labor. Now, each one of these work centers or operations is associated with these 4 tabs. So these are all the materials that I need to produce at this particular operation. I can have different materials set up as well on different operations to time phase those in. And then the steps is freeform text for any production. And then you can also add tooling and overhead charges. The other thing that you can do is add documents to these. So I could, if I wanted a more work center or work instructions, I can actually come in and add these to this, and these will copy directly over to the production order. Same thing with the material. Anywhere that you see the paperclip and the note card, you can have attached files or any type of notes. So now in production, there's a lot of different transactions. So we can actually apply direct labor, we can backflush, we can issue materials. There's a complete disassembly component to this as well. But I'm going to go into the production order maintenance right now. So this is the order that we actually just created. And if you remember, we had this attached directly to that particular sales order. I could actually build a prior revision, or if I needed to have an alternate bill of material, I could do that. And then by selecting revision A, it'll bring in what revision A looked like at that particular time. Now, event history, everything is tracked within the system. So anytime anybody does something, it's going to write a record. And the key points here are the date, the time, and who actually did this. And then you can attach attributes. So from a quality assurance standpoint, you could go in and say, I want to calibrate something. You can make that required. And then from a total standpoint, we're going to actually bring in either the estimated, the planned, or the standard cost, and depending on your valuations. And this is going to come down and show you that it should cost you $46.01 to make one of these. Now, as I run transactions against this, it's going to update the actual, decrement the variance. And then when we get done with this, if there's any variance, there's a financial close that will post all the variance accounts at that time. So the first thing that I have to do is come in and release this. Now, there's multiple different ways that you can release a production order. So if I reset this to planned, I can delete it. I can just cancel the order as well. But as I mentioned, there's multiple ways that you can do this. So I could release multiple production orders from this screen. I can either select one or multiples. I can also do it from a rough cut capacity planning standpoint, and to where here's the one that we were looking at. I can come in and say I want to go ahead and schedule that as well as release it. And so now when I go out and I schedule this and it gets released, so now this particular production order is now released. So now I can actually start production on this. There's a couple things, you know, as I ran MRP, we already had some, but there's another function called critical material, to where if you have anything that's short, it would show. In this particular case, I have plenty on hand in order to produce this, but if I actually needed to go out and purchase one of these items or manufacture one of these items, all I would have to do is click on here, select purchase. I have a chance to change my vendor at this point in time, and once I hit create, it'll create a purchase order directly from here, to where now I'm going to purchase this and bring it into the system. So if I look at my purchase orders, this is the one that I just created. And the key here is now I go through the normal purchasing process, but once I come in and I receive this, then this is tied directly to this production order and this production order number. So when I receive it, the cost of that will go to that production order. Now, if I go back to my production order, the production detail, this is the bill of material that I copied in. So if you remember when we were looking at the bill of material side, this is the identical one. I do, if I have security, have the capability to make changes. So if I wanted to substitute black dye with indigo dye, I could have that capability. Same thing with changing work centers. The one here that I'm going to do is I'm back flushing everything on this particular operation, as well as this one, as well as this one. But I could actually uncheck this and do a labor transaction, but in the essence of time, I'll just show you one. So since we're going to move this, we go to a move transaction screen. Now, this is a screen that could be barcoded as well. So you could actually have a scanning device, and so instead of keying this in, then I can actually just go ahead and scan that. It also, from a scanning standpoint, or even a manual entry standpoint, if you do lot and serial, the system's capable of lot and serial throughout, cradle to grave, as well as tracking the expiration date. And then if you needed to scrap anything, you could do that here, apply a reason code to that, and go ahead and scrap that out. So if I come back very quickly to the production order, you'll notice that my one transaction that I just did created a whole bunch of different things. So I had reset this to planned. I released it through the rough cut planning. I did one move transaction that you saw me do, which is this one. And then that created two additional ones. So I backflushed my material as well. So these are the two items that I backflushed. So I put 11 cents on that particular production order. And then I also had a cost transaction that came in and applied my labor. I had a tool attached. I had fixed and variable overhead attached to this as well. Now on the totals tab, now it started to add this. So now I have $16.36 in WIP. Now you don't have to do this operation by operation. So if I came in and did a move transaction again, I could scan this and come in, and I could basically select 30, and it's going to now backflush everything off of operation 30 as well as operation 20. So it's going to go out now, and it's actually completing this particular production order in the manufacturing side, and it's going to move that item into inventory at that time. So now when I come back over to my production order, I have a completed production order. I have full event history as well. So that one move transaction created multiple GL transactions for operation 20 and operation 30, as well as material from both as well. And then my totals, I ended up with a little bit variance. So now when I come out and I actually close this particular production order, so our recommendation is the finance people actually do this. So I come out and I can close this production order out. And at this point in time, that production order is closed. The variance has been posted to the variance accounts. And if you need to make any more transactions to that production order, you're going to be doing them through journal entries. When it was in a completed state, I could still come in and add labor. I could do material add. I could do any WIP adjustment. So I can do any transaction up until it's in a closed state. Now, once it goes back to inventory at that particular time, now it's ready to be shipped. And I can let the Starship people take over now.
Okay, thank you, John.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just share my screen with everyone here. Oops. Get the right screen. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see my screen. It has the Starship program in the center of it. And again, my name is Matt St. John. I'm the sales executive here at V Technologies for Starship and the Acumatica interface. I'd like to thank everyone for taking time out of their day for this webinar. We all really appreciate it. So with inside Starship, this lives outside of Acumatica. It is a multiple carrier, multiple type of shipping solution. So I can do parcel as well as LTL. I can do FedEx, UPS, USPS, even LTL carriers. My shipper would actually work directly inside a Starship. So up in the upper left-hand side, we have our actual source document. For the sake of the demo, we'll be pulling a shipment, but in this drop-down, I could actually pull by sales order, shipment, or by customer number. We also have a magnifying glass, so if I wanted to, I could look up all my shipments that live inside of Acumatica. From here, I can also get into batch processing, where I can select as many orders as I like, click process selected, and what Starship's going to do is just start automatically generating the shipping documents and processing all the orders that I selected. For the sake of the demo here, we can most certainly manually type in a shipment number, or if your pick sheets or whatever you're shipping against as a document, if you have the source document barcoded, you can use a regular wedge type scanner and just scan in that source document. But as soon as I put in that source document, as you can see, Starship is going to reach into Acumatica, really mapping fields from Acumatica, and it's going to pull in all the order header as well as the line item detail for this order. So these map fields can have a one-to-many relationship. So based off, for example, the ship via field that is set up on this shipment inside Acumatica, Starship's automatically going to populate the carrier, the service, billing type, account information automatically for my shipper. So we can get into automating if you're doing third party or collect shipments. You know, Starship can automatically select the billing type as third party or collect. It has its own database for your customers' third party account information. So that can be a whole automated process. Of course, the sender, that is the company that we're pulling from inside of Acumatica, and the recipient is the ship to from this shipment inside of Acumatica. With the recipient address, Starship does do address validation. We validate zip+4. We also will validate the commercial residential flag. So going to help save on those address correction fees as well as the commercial residential correction fee. All right. Going to go down below in the packaging view here. This is where Starship gets into the item to box detail or your line item detail. Okay. With this order, one thing Starship can do, and it can automatically learn, or you can manually set up what we call packaging scenarios. So I have a couple actually taking effect on this shipment. As you can see here with this packaging scenario, Starship automatically knows, hey, anytime I ship this laptop, it goes into a laptop bag. Anytime I ship this air hockey table, it goes into an air hockey box. All right, so we can automate that process. If you are doing this inside Acumatica in the Shipments tab, Starship would automatically return it however you set it up inside of Acumatica, or I can manually drag and drop. As you can see over here, I can add packages. We have a repeat box function, so if this was actually a large order and I needed to add a bunch of boxes, I could simply use this repeat box function. Okay. With these packages or boxes that I have set up here, Starship has its own database where you can store your own custom boxes, or maybe you're using standard size boxes, so you can actually store those. A nice thing with doing that is once they are set up, as you can see, it will automatically populate the dimensions for your shipper. Nice thing with Starship is we also take into consideration the dimensional weights. So here, if you have a scale hooked up to your shipping machine, we can most certainly just automatically pull weights for each of your packages from that scale. My system, I'm actually just pulling the weights that are set up inside Acumatica. But as you can see here, I have almost 45 pounds of actual weight from the items, but the little field here, that's actually the dimensional weight on this. So we're going to also help save on those dim weight charges that you might currently be receiving if you're doing UPS and FedEx shipments. There's savings there. Now with the line item detail, I'm just going to select the line item here. I'm going to expand all these. Of course, again, Starship's just pulling in this information, but what it's also going to do is start storing all your inventory items in its own database. Okay. Reason we do this, as you can see here, this is an international order. So the nice thing with having that separate database is we can also store additional information for each of your line items. So if you're doing a lot of international shipments, as you can see here, now as a shipper, I don't have to worry about selecting the country manufacturer, even the harmonized or Schedule B codes. If I pulled in an item, it didn't have this information. As you can see, I can quickly and easily look up the Schedule B code by description, or if I knew partial code, I could do that. So I can add any of this information. And of course, once I add it, ship and process, it will be there for the next time I ship this item. Okay? Just automating that whole shipping process, making it easier for your shippers. So next step, usually what a lot of clients will do is the rate shopping function. So I'm going to just click this green dollar icon, or I could also just go to the rate shop tab. So with Starship, we currently have over 24 carrier modules. So with the carrier module, as you're going to see here, in this system I have FedEx and UPS set up, but we have UPS, USPS, FedEx, and again, a whole about 24 different LTL carriers. A nice thing with the carrier module is Starship is going to make the call directly to the carrier. We're going to use your account information, so we are going to return your live negotiated contract rates that you have with the carrier. Okay, so there's no pricing tables, nothing to maintain. You know, if tomorrow UPS added up the fuel surcharge, say, you know, we automatically will gain access to that. Okay, so here I just rate shop. As you can see, all the options for FedEx and UPS. Okay, you can see estimated delivery. I can change this and do business days or by total days. I can also change this if I want to actually see list pricing. If this was an LTL shipment, the list pricing would be 0 because LTL carriers do not publish list rates. It's just contract rates that you negotiate with them. With the rating, we can also set up Starship to automatically do this for a shipper. We do have what we call ship via rules. So I can basically tell Starship, you know, whatever my criteria might be. So maybe, hey, Starship, automatically rate this and select the carrier and or service that's the least expensive, or maybe the least amount of delivery days. Okay, so we can automate that process as well. Again, one less thing my shipper has to worry about doing. Let Starship automate it, and you know, again, automatically select the least expensive carrier. The charges tab. To process a shipment, I do not have to select this. I just like to show this because I'd like to discuss freight rules. So inside Starship, you can set up freight rules. These freight rules, what I call the triggers, can be line item detail. Maybe if you do say, hey, over X amount of dollars, they get free shipping. It can be all the way drilled down to by customer. You know, customer ABC, they get free shipping, or they get a 2% discount. Freight rules can be percentages. As you can see here, I have one set up. They can be min-maxes. It could be a flat rate. And again, it could go all the way down to line item detail. So we have some clients, they ship oversized items. So they set up rules that say, you know, anytime item 1, 2, 3, 4 is on an order, automatically add, say, $20 because it's an oversized item. Okay. And when I am ready to ship and process, I can then just click the ship and process button, or the F5 key. So as soon as I do that, I will get my shipping documents. You can also save shipments. So maybe if you wanted to start the process, maybe you had a large order, or maybe there was an item on that order not quite ready yet, you could actually have your shipper start the process. They can then save it and then come back to it later. But once we do the shipping process, that's when we're generating our shipping labels, shipping documents, okay, making the call directly to, in this case, UPS. They are returning a label. They are returning the tracking information. For the sake of the demo, I am previewing all the documents. Of course, these can go right to a thermal printer for your labels. I'm also using, this is what we call our smart label. So as you can see, the smart label will print the shipping label and the packaging list together. This would need to go to a laser printer. But again, you can, with Starship, you have the choice of sending your shipping label to a thermal printer. The packing list, you also have the option. That can go to a thermal printer if you'd like. You know, if you want to save some paper, use the free labels you get from your carrier, you can do that. Or if you wanted to, you could send the packing list to a laser printer and print it to paper. Okay. So we get package 1. We'll get our second label here for our second box. Okay. And then because this was international, Starship can, if you need to, have it generate your shipping or the international documents. If this was LTL, we can generate bill of lading forms, pallet labels, so on and so forth. Because Starship is storing and keeping all that international line item detail information, harmonized codes, again, order header information, all that will generate on your shipping documents. Documents can be customized. So for example, down here I have this one already pre-signed, name, date, you know, the company, my title, email, telephone number. Again, just other ways you can, you know, speed up, save time. One less thing as a shipper I have to worry about stopping and manually filling out. Again, commercial invoice. Again, all that information is going to populate. And if I wanted to, I can customize it, have it signed and dated. With these documents, you can create unlimited templates. And then with each template, you can also assign printing rules. So for example, maybe you had a customer, say customer ABC, wanted the commercial invoice to look a little different. You can create a template for that customer and then have it only print when the shipment is for, say, customer ABC. Okay. So again, shipping process, I'm going to receive my shipping documents. Now as a shipper, I'm in that rinse repeat cycle. Time to just select my next shipment, or if if they're barcoded, I can just scan it real quick with a regular wedge type scanner. Okay. I'll just jump right back into Acumatica so I can show you the write back. I'm going to bring up the shipment here. Okay. So on the shipment setting, as you can see here, we're going to write back two different freight amounts. We're going to write back freight cost and freight amount. So freight cost, that's actually in this case, my rate from UPS. So that's my contract rate, what UPS is going to charge me. And then the freight amount is actually what I'm charging the customer for this shipment. Okay. On the packaging tab, okay, we will write back that box ID, as you can see, the laptop box and the air hockey box. Tracking information. And then these customer references, up to you. I'm just writing currently, I have it set up to write back the service type and as well as the ship date. Okay. And then also on the notes tab, just kind of summarize all that information. We just put it right there on that notes tab. So as you can see, tracking information, shipping date, time, weights. Okay. All right. And then real quick, I'll jump into two other programs that are included with Starship. First one being our e-notification program. So with e-notify, nice thing, this does not require any additional seats or licenses. So with Starship, you really just need a seat or license for your shippers, and it's going to be however many shippers you have shipping at the same time. So they're concurrent seats, they're not named. So if I have 2 shippers shipping inside of Starship at the same time, of course I would need 2 seats. But with this e-notify, no additional seats. This can be installed in as many workstations as you like. These are email templates that you design. So the nice thing is you put your company logo on there, build your brand awareness. They're very easy to design. You know, you can look and feel here. I'm letting my customer know, you know, it's being sent by UPS. Here's the estimated delivery date. That's coming from UPS, so it is accurate. Item to box detail. and tracking numbers are hyperlinked. So these can help reduce those inbound calls of customers just calling you, looking for their shipment. You know, in this case, let them track it, let them go out to UPS. All right. With these emails, same thing, unlimited templates, but instead of printing rules, you can also do emailing rules. So again, here I just have a promo code, which you can hyperlink, get your customers right back to your website. So maybe I only wanted to send this promo code to certain customers. I can do an email rule for this template, and then it would only go to those certain customers. These emails, it's up to you when you want them to go. They can go as soon as someone clicks ship and process inside of Starship. I can delay them by a certain number of hours and or minutes, or what a lot of our clients will do, they just set a time. Hey, at 6 o'clock at night, send out all the emails. Okay, and you can automatically do that. And this is just a viewer, so I can come in here. As you can see, I can see what's been sent, what's failed, of course, what's pending, and if I've deleted anything, I can see that. Also included with Starship is our dashboard. So same thing, no additional fees, no additional licenses. This can be also installed in as many workstations as you like. So dashboards are a reporting tool. As you can see, I just have some performance indicators up here, shipment history. I can see shipment by carrier, by user. So each of your users can have their own logins inside of Starship. We can do our own security roles for each of them as well. If I needed to track from dashboard, I can either just put in a tracking number, or I can kind of drill down through these widgets. But this is the screen we do give you if you need to track this record detail. So as you see, we give you access to the shipping date, estimated delivery, status, you know, how many days it's been in transit. Again, packaging, line item, charge breakdown, all the way down to proof of delivery. If the carrier supports it and it was required, if this then was signed for, I could actually see the signature. And then, of course, we have some canned reports, too, that customers run all the time. One is the late delivery report. This report actually goes out, compares the guaranteed delivery date to the actual delivery date. So it's going to let you know of any shipment that was not delivered on time. So you can contact the carrier and try to get a refund. And then we have a charge comparison report. So this is going to show you all your shipments. It's going to have a column for the applied. So that's the amount you charged your customer for the shipment. It's then going to have a column that's going to show your contract rate, so what you're going to be charged for the shipment. And then, of course, the third column is the plus or minus. So quick report you can run, you know, easy way to make sure you're not losing money on your shipments. Okay, and that's really what I want to show you. Again, to thank everyone for joining today's webinar, and we'll hand this off to Patty so she can show you how simple and easy it is to collect funds for your orders.
Thank you, Matt. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for allowing us to provide this presentation today. John, your presentation was just as informative, and thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, with JAMS and Acumatica Manufacturing, as well as Starship, you take control of your manufacturing and shipping process with full automation, security, and compliance. And of course, this will increase your customer satisfaction, as well as now on the American Payment Solution side of things, we can help you get paid faster. What you see on the screen right now is our integration into Acumatica. We follow Acumatica's guidelines as far as your security settings, your user account, and basically give you the option to add credit card as a payment type, allowing you to enter as many credit cards per customer as you need, and fully PCI compliance. So once you do enter the credit card, we tokenize the information, store it in our secured vault, and allow you to use the credit card whenever necessary. You'll notice on my screen, the credit card information is grayed out. The demo system does not allow me to enter new cards, but you can actually enter new cards on the fly, whether you're at the finance and accounts receivable screen, or in your sales order, or in your invoice payment screen. You can apply payments against sales orders, you can apply pre-authorizations as well as captures, and you can also apply payments directly against invoices using multiple payment types. So before I show you a transaction, I just want to talk a little bit about level 3 processing. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the part where I really insist that you have to become curious about the money that you're leaving on the table by not understanding your current merchant statement. Those of you that are currently processing using a flat rate contract, you're missing out on this. Those of you that have tiered pricing, you're missing out on this. There is one type of fee structure called Interchange Plus that will allow you to take advantage of level 3 savings. And let me explain what level 3 savings is. It is basically, in a nutshell, a program put in place by Visa and MasterCard that will allow you or allow the processor to cut the rates in half, sometimes even more than half, down to 0.03%, giving you a level of savings that's an average of $18,000 per year, simply by supplying Visa and MasterCard with certain data fields that they require in order to verify that you're processing a business-to-business or business-to-government transaction within the continental U.S. Believe it or not, 80% of companies still do not process through level 3 processing because their current gateway provider does not offer it. And this we see happen especially for anyone that is currently on a flat rate contract, locked into a flat rate contract. Many people question the fact that maybe Authorize.net might offer level 3. I want to show you the level of data that Authorize.net provides. This is what they provide Visa and MasterCard every time you process a transaction. The data required in order for you to receive level 3 rates is what you see on the screen now. It's typically 13 to 16 fields. And these fields are actually taken from your Acumatica integration, delivered to Visa and MasterCard on your behalf if you process with American Payment Solutions. Now, with Authorize.net, first of all, you do not get level 3. There is setup fees. There's a limitation as far as the amount of credit cards you could enter in Acumatica and the other items that you see on the screen, which I won't have to read. I just want to point out that with the American Payment Solutions integration to Acumatica, you will have instantly level 3 completely automated. There is no limit to the amount of cards you could enter within Acumatica per customer. There is no daily badge fee. There's no charge for our installation, implementation, training, or support. And instead of going to 3 different providers every time you run into an issue that has to do with credit card processing, meaning Authorize.net, your Acumatica partner, and then the card company, you would have to go only to APS, and we would resolve the issue and then let you know exactly what caused it, etc. So ladies and gentlemen, why not let Acumatica do the heavy lifting, allow Acumatica to take the level 3 data that is required by the card brands and get you that lower rate? Just so you get an idea, here's the amount of savings we can get you. Now, I said it's an average of $18,000. We've been able to save our merchants a couple of times over $100,000 a year simply by processing through level 3. That's how low the rate can go. Depending on the volume of the transaction, the rate, as I mentioned before, can go as 0.03%. So we also integrate to many other e-commerce solutions, point of sale solutions out there. So if you're working with those solutions, no need to worry. We can integrate to them and also process through level 3 for you. And I have some of them on the screen. Now let's jump quickly into Acumatica and show you how simple it is to actually process a transaction. Now, I showed you where the actual credit cards could be entered. You also have the flexibility of ACH payments, which are completely optional. You can decide if you'd like to give your customers access to both credit card processing as well as ACH, so you can enter the information right through finance, accounts receivable, customer payment methods. And as I mentioned before, you can also process transactions right within sales orders as well as payments and applications. If you're processing in payments and applications, you can definitely apply multiple payment types against an invoice. Now, as far as the pre-authorization is concerned, you can pre-authorize a certain amount. Say, for example, you're not sure about the shipping fee yet, and you had rate shopping, for example, and now you've got that information back. You can pre-authorize without a shipping fee, and then later on add the shipping fee when you're ready to capture, and we will actually capture the full amount of the transaction without you having to take any extra steps. Now, in sales order, we do not step outside of Acumatica. We actually follow standard Acumatica procedure as far as processing a sales order. And basically what we added in the payments tab is the option for you to apply a credit card payment. And I apologize, my system for some reason is frozen. But rather than walk you through this, well, here it is. I just wanted to point out the fact that in your payment settings, the credit cards that you had previously set up will be available to the user. If for any reason the card is not on file, the user will be able to add a card on the fly right at the payment settings. We also show you an audit trail. So say, for example, you pre-authorized the transaction, and I don't know, days later when you're ready to ship, you forgot whether you pre-authorized it. The audit trail will actually give you a transaction ID and show you where in the process the transaction is at the current time. So you don't have to worry about switching tabs or jumping anywhere else in order to check where the transaction is at. Now, once you do process the transaction within Acumatica, the transaction will also be updated in our APS Pays vault. Now, the APS Pays vault is very straightforward. You can also process transactions from the vault itself. So just so you get an idea, you would have to enter all of the information that is already available to you within Acumatica if you decide to process through the vault. You can also set up for recurring invoices and then go to transaction reports. The reporting functionality within our vault is very robust. There's an immense amount of sorting criteria, just so you get an idea. We make it almost impossible for you not to find a transaction. You can see the different action types, etc. We also set you up to auto batch so that you can receive 12-hour funding. And if we set up your account to go through not just level 3, but also American Express Optical, which is a very similar program, you will receive 12-hour funding for all card brands. Now, when a transaction is processed within Acumatica, you'll be able to see a bird's eye view of the transaction in our portal. If it's already been invoiced, you'll see an invoice number being referenced. Otherwise, you'll see a sales order number. You will also be able to determine where in the process the transaction is currently at. So you'll see I have a card sale that's in process. There's another transaction that was first pre-authorized and then captured. This transaction ID will also be populated into Acumatica and is an excellent means for you to cross-reference. If I click on the transaction ID on my portal, I will be able to go down to the line level detail of the invoice. And all of this information you see here is what is being submitted live on your behalf to the card brands in order to get you the lower rates. Now, I understand that in many cases, it's almost impossible to decipher your current statements and understand the exact rate that you're receiving. Allow us that opportunity to provide you with a free audit of your current rates and fees. If we're not able to beat or match any competitor's rates, we will pay you $500 for simply allowing us to teach you how to understand your statements. And I apologize for not being able to show you the full sales order in Acumatica. My demo system, for some reason, is not being connected properly. But what you see on the screen are just additional features that we offer, one of them being free PCI support. We do not use a third-party company, so we have a dedicated PCI team that is exclusive to making sure our merchants become and remain PCI compliant. We also offer 24/7, 365 days support, and you are guaranteed a live human being on the other side of the line whenever you call our support staff. As I mentioned before, we do not charge for installation, implementation, training, maintenance, or support. We offer very transparent merchant statements. We guarantee our rates in writing, and we offer different types of contracts. So you can do the month-to-month, year, 2 years, depending on the level of equipment that you might require. If you're interested in learning more about obtaining that free audit, please feel free to send me a couple of your statements. No strings attached. I will walk you through it, have you understand it, and point out the areas in which you can ask your current processor to lower their rates. Promised. And with that, I'd like to hand it back over to you, Adrienne. Thank you.
Thank you so much.